499 Words About Bullying Bullies in Super Mario 64. Published on my website, accordionsprout.com, 26th of August, 2024. There isn't any region that prevented my progress through Super Mario 64 more than Lethal Lava Land. And it's only been in the last year playing on my Nintendo Switch that I was able to actually get the first star. It's a surreal, volcanic zone populated by floating eyeballs that shoot lasers, angular geometric platforms that are regularly submerged in lava, and horned bomb-oms called bullies. There's also a ton of lava. The first and second missions in this region involve bullying these aforementioned bullies, and I died a lot trying to beat these two levels. And I mean a lot. Also, bullying means kicking them into lava. Like a lot of the Super Mario 64 video game, this mission is a combination of puzzle solving and raw physics. Simply hopping to the actual site of the confrontation is difficult because it involves configuring how much friction Mario will have as he hops, walks, and runs from platform to platform. And I have to be honest, I tended to overshoot Mario's, quote, sticky friction and wound up burning his butt repeatedly in the lava, sending him flying and holding his aforementioned poor scalded bum. Getting to the dang platforms is a struggle in and of itself. And then the actual fight begins. The bullies have one prerogative. They push. The AI that governs their behavior selects Mario in the immediate space and, after making a constipated grunt, they charge at him, propelling their entire weight. And unless the player reacts in time with a well-placed punch, Mario is going to be knocked back, sometimes right into the lava. In the first mission, Mario faces off against a single large bully. But the second mission has him fighting 3 of these twerps, and then the giant one again for a pathetic sequel. Bully 2. The bullying. Mario isn't fun or easy to control in Super Mario 64. Most of that is just due to the limitations of the hardware. The Nintendo 64 and 64 is still arguably the strangest configured controller I've ever played, and its joystick is handled in binary. The avatar either ran at uncontrollable speed or pedaled along at a snail's pace. This in itself would be frustrating, but when I remember most Super Mario video games are just obstacle courses, and the latter areas are dedicated to maneuvering him carefully around tighter and tighter spaces, well, it's a wonder how I didn't completely smash my controller. Actually, if I'm being honest, I may have done that. Overcoming these missions was a struggle, and honestly, dispiriting. I watched Mario scream and fly through the air holding his butt again and again. Still, I recognized that these were, ultimately, 3-dimensional puzzles, and while the physics at play seemed stacked against me, there was a solution. Beating the bullies was just figuring out how their physics work and using their momentum against them. I won both the stars, but beating the bullies was just one more challenge on this ever-escalating obstacle course. Joshua Jammer Smith, 26th of August, 2024. Howdy, I'm Jammer. So, first off, as always, thank you so much for listening. I tremendously appreciate it. All we have in this life is our time and our choices, and you chose to give me some of your time, and I am endlessly grateful for it. So whoever you are, wherever you are, you rock, you're amazing. Thank you so much. Second, as always, boring stuff. If you like this video, podcast, recording, whatever thing that I'm doing here, or if you like the essays I publish on Accordion Sprout, or if you like my visual art, or if you've seen some of my writing elsewhere and you just want to throw a buck in my cap, that's my metaphor, is like if you see street performers, they almost always have like an open guitar case or a hat. Throw a buck in the hat if you'd like to. I'd be appreciative. And on that note, there's only a $1 tier on my Patreon, and after Patreon takes their cut, I only get like 50 cents, so it's not a lot. But if you got a buck in your pocket and you like this video, please, by all means, throw it my way, or don't. Your life, your choice. I'm never going to pressure you. But, I appreciate anything because groceries are expensive. Now, let's talk about Super Mario 64 and also about the fact that this is the first time I'm talking about Super Mario 64. For whatever reason, when I was younger, I never was interested in Super Mario 64. Okay, well, that's not true. I never owned a Super Mario 64 cartridge. A great number of my friends did, and they played it religiously. For me, there was an uncanny valley and vibe and energy to the game that was just, it was a little too much for me when I was younger. I wound up playing a lot of Kirby 64, Pokemon Stadium, and then Ogre Battle 64, if anybody ever actually played that game. It was a really, really, really great game. And then Smash Bros, because, I mean, you kind of have to, you know? Anyway, regardless, Super Mario 64 was not really it wasn't a game that I played, and it's only been once I started playing it on Nintendo Switch that I began actually hopping into it. So this is the first Super Mario 64 game, in part because of that, and also just because I looked at levels that I felt really encapsulated what Super Mario games were. Bullying the Bullies is probably one of the best examples of it. Now, in the essay, I make a reference to a phrase called sticky friction. And I need to make it clear, that is not actually my term. That term was coined by video game creator and commentator Tim Rogers. You probably know him from the Action Button Review YouTube channel, which I would really highly recommend. It's amazing. And he published an article on Kotaku in 8th of June 2010. I've got it pulled up now, titled In Praise of Sticky Friction. It's an incredibly long essay. Like, Tim Rogers is known for writing these short novels that he then publishes on the internet. The short version is sticky friction is his sort of key term for the fact that if you move Mario, his avatar doesn't just immediately stop when you stop moving, like the D-pad or the joystick. What happens is, depending on how much energy or how fast you have been moving Mario, he will sort of stop, but then his body will continue moving forward. And this is important because, one, it's the way actual gravity works, but then also, two, it really will determine how well or how poorly you do while playing a Super Mario game. Because again, if one plays, or whenever I play another platformer game, I am accustomed to the avatar that I'm controlling to be very static, meaning it moves when I'm moving the D-pad or the joystick, it stops when I stop moving it. Mario, on the other hand, is not like that, because you can adjust the speed in which Mario moves. You can adjust how slow Mario moves. And again, depending on for how long you are moving him and at what speed, it's going to impact how well you are going to be able to make the jumps that are in the 3D and 2D platforming. And especially in Lethal Lava Land, that first part is very important, it is really easy to lose control of Mario. Because on the one hand, there are enemies on platforms that will be chasing you and attacking you, and then on the other hand, lava will regularly sort of rise up and swell over whatever platform you're standing on. So if you are not careful about how much momentum you are using on Mario as he's making his jumps and as he's making his leaps, or even just running about, it's really easy to suddenly find yourself dropping over the side of the edge. And in Lethal Lava Land, you get maybe one or two chances before Mario will be like holding his butt and screaming, and then you'll watch Bowser's face just start cackling into play, and then you have to start all over. Unless, of course, you do save states, but, you know, I suppose that's cheating, but also it's 2025, who cares anymore, at least in my opinion. Point is, looking at Bullying the Bullies, it was one of these moments where the whole game kind of came full center for me, because I recognized how much Mario's sticky friction had been impacting my ability to play. Because especially on some of the earlier levels, particularly the ice levels, that sticky friction was my worst enemy. And in fact, on that note, regardless of how many different types of enemy NPCs I encountered while playing Super Mario 64 up to this point, Mario's sticky friction was the main obstacle to the game. Yes, other enemies would bump into me and my health would deplete, but it was always, and I don't have any hard data to support this, but it was always me underestimating a jump, or me missing a jump, or me applying too much momentum or not enough momentum and watching Mario plummet into the abyss or into the lava itself. And so again, what's fascinating about this mission, and then in turn every mission in Super Mario 64, is observing how the puzzle becomes how to employ momentum carefully and execute it as such so that you are able to ultimately find the, quote, solution to whatever problem you're on, get the star, and then move on to the next, quote, obstacle course. It's just really fascinating. And obviously, I'm not the first person in the world to think this, but again, I'm never trying to claim myself to be the inventor or discoverer of anything here. I'm just a nerd who likes video games. And the physics of Super Mario 64 have been replicated in just about every subsequent 3D platformer that involves Super Mario, and to some extent other 3D platformers as well. Like, Super Mario 64 was honestly, it was a moment in the history of video games, and we can still feel its impact in 3D platformers to this day. Also, Bullies suck. I don't know what else to say. They just suck. But it's also probably because, as my friend TJ is fond of saying, I like video games. That doesn't mean that I'm good at them. But I see that I'm hitting the 8-minute mark now, so I should probably call it a day. Thank you again so much for listening. Thank you so much for listening. I tremendously appreciate it. And hey, go play some video games.